Hey, welcome family to another episode of Marriage Mondays with Nick and Trina Briston. Glad to be back this week after taking another week off, and we're just here to give you some practical advice about ways to love, how to keep love alive.
Right.
That's what we're going to do today.
Yep. So we represent Crown Kingdom Cultural Center. We encourage you to like and share with as many people as you think might benefit from it. Our goal is simply to give you practical, biblical tips and some guidance for making your marriage strong. We believe that's the heart of God for marriages, is that they're strong and they're peaceful and produce fruit and reflect his relationship, the relationship of Christ with the church. So we're here to help you navigate that. And so we appreciate your support in that.
Mm-hmm. So we're just going to wait for a few more people to come in. It's close to 6 o'clock right now. And right now we have one person on right now. So it's a couple minutes out. So we just want to thank y'all for coming in and, make a comment and share the information, give it out to your people so they can come in and get the information. And these is the practical advice we give, we do live by. And we try to respect what we give y'all when we ask you about it. And just want to say hello to Deacon Charles Brown and Miss Alicia Mack for coming in. Can't see anybody else. We got 4 and so forth. But let's go ahead and start. You want to go ahead? Go.
Well, we want to talk about practical ways to keep your love alive. One thing about marriages is usually when people get married, they're at a high point to where it's easy for the love to be very much on the surface. Some people, when they get married, they still have, what culture calls the representative. You put your best face forward, and people may not always see all sides of you. And sometimes as you come to know a person deeper, you will see parts of them that you might not appreciate right away. But you have to be mindful as to what your goal is in marriage. And it's important for you to keep the love alive. And so the first thing we want to talk about as a practical way to keep love alive is it's important to commit to love even when you don't like your spouse.
That's a concept, don't you think?
It's a concept that I would not have understood when we first got married.
Right.
I would have thought, well, why am I married? I wouldn't marry somebody I didn't like.
Right. How could you not like somebody but love them?
Oh, it happens.
Oh, marriage teach you that. It happens. Marriage will teach you that. And I've seen a couple of reels on Facebook where people are mad at each other in marriage, and they're doing little things for each other still, but you can tell at the moment they really don't like each other right now.
Yeah.
And that's just not Facebook stuff. That happens here at the Brinson household too.
Oh, it has happened. Mm-hmm. It absolutely has happened, and it gets to a point that you have to learn that love and like are not one and the same. That commitment of love is a lot deeper than whether or not you like someone in the moment. That's a fleeting thing when you don't like. At least in my experience, it can be in that moment, or it might be for a couple of days or a season. But whether or not I like my spouse usually has to do with not liking behaviors, or not liking attitudes, or not liking a situation or how things are handled. But those are some of the rough places that you have to work out inside your marriage. That doesn't mean you married the wrong person. It doesn't mean that your marriage is not going to be successful. It means you got to do some work.
Right. And
that commitment to love goes beyond whether or not you actually like that person in the moment. And that's the ugly truth about marriage that a lot of people won't tell you. But if you talk to anybody that's been married more than a few years, I say for some people it may take longer than others. So I say if you talk to somebody who's been married a good 10 to 15 years, they will vouch for what we're saying. That there are periods of time when you just don't like your spouse in that moment. Now, when those moments outweigh the times you do like them, you really got something you need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, I would say even inside of a healthy, growing marriage, there are times that you just don't like this person. And so we've had to grow beyond that. Now I can't imagine you wouldn't like me.
Did you just say what now?
I didn't stutter. You never had a moment you didn't like me, did you?
I might have even expressed it.
You probably did. I can distinctly remember you say, I don't like you. Yes, you have said that. And it was mutual. My feelings weren't even hurt because I felt the same way. But we have come through those moments, and that doesn't change the fact that the love is still there, even when it doesn't feel like it's there. Love becomes a decision at some point. It's not always a feeling. Love is more than an emotion. That's just a small facet of what love is. Love is also about that decision to choose one another and being committed to that decision. It's about those things we talked about last week from 1 Corinthians, being patient. That's love. That's a characteristic of love, is patience, it's kindness, it's having that not keeping score. Those things are love, and that has nothing to do with how you feel. It's a decision to make that choice.
Right.
So lead with love. Be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Another thing that to keep your love alive is you don't put your marriage on the back burner.
Right.
Your marriage is the first, it's called your first ministry. You keep that before anything else. I think I just shared at a recent funeral for one of my uncles. I noticed that in his marriage, he always kept his family first, no matter what was going on, what other people may have needed, other people in the family may have needed. He always kept that marriage first. And that says a lot.
It really does. That's a way of showing that's love. That's an evidence of love. It's the fact that he was able to prioritize his family. He made that choice to prioritize his household family even over the extended family.
Right.
You have to be able to keep it in priority. Mom is important, dad is important, sister, brother, cousin, nephews, and nieces are important. But they do not trump or give you a reason not to prioritize your marriage. And that includes children.
Yeah. And the Bible tell you, a man that fails to prepare for his family, to provide for his family, is worse than an infidel
or unbeliever.
So you have to prioritize your marriage first.
And that looks like not putting your marriage on the back burner just because you're raising kids.
Oh, no.
Just because you're raising kids doesn't mean that you don't have to give your marriage the attention that it needs, because we all know a marriage can end and you still have those kids to care for.
Or one day those kids gonna leave and
your marriage is still there. Right. So they are two different facets in your life, two entities within your life. They are intertwined, but it is not wise for you to neglect your children for your marriage, nor your marriage for your children. It's important to have some balance there. Mm-hmm. You need to work together towards caring for your children, which also strengthens your marriage when you take that on together.
Right.
So, but never put your marriage on the back burner because you're raising kids or because you have to take care of a sick parent. That doesn't mean you don't take care of your marriage. You still take care of your marriage. How that looks might vary
and change. Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, you can't put your life on hold because you've got to revamp some things. Whatever comes up, you have to face those things together and keep your marriage together as you go through those tough seasons in your life. So if you have a sick child or a sick parent you have to care for or relative, that is important. But it does not mean you sacrifice your marriage in order to fulfill that family obligation.
Right.
Same for your job and your ministry.
Did you just say ministry?
I did. Make sure to include that. Having a responsibility to ministry does not negate your caring for your marriage. You got to figure it out. And you can figure it out by going to Christ, by seeking God first. God will give you insight and wisdom on how to balance your job and your home, how to balance your marriage and the ministry, how to balance your marriage and taking care of kids. You do not put your marriage on hold for these life issues that raise. Yep, Corrine just said, don't put your marriage on hold when life happens, because life will happen.
It will.
It will happen, and your marriage is honestly a good place to help you navigate through. When you have a partner in marriage, you have a partner in life. So don't shut your partner out or pull away from your partner because life happens. That's the time for you all to come in closer. Mm-hmm. To come in closer, plan things better, get your emotions under control. That's why we always say marriage is for mature people. That's a mature thing you have to do, is to get your emotions under control. You can't be all in a tizzy because your mama said. You got to be able to lean on your partner and say, hey, let's figure this out. How we can, help mama and keep our relationship and the kids and our family, our household intact. Right. We can't shut down the household because we got to go take care of dad who's sick or whatever. So that's a tough pill to swallow, but it takes some maturity to make that happen. You absolutely want to support your parents if they're sick. You absolutely want to take care of your kids and be a good parent. That is in addition to your marriage, not at the expense of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a very important way to keep love alive, is you have to prioritize your marriage and not put it on the back burner. And
I venture to say, when going through these life changes, these life things that happen in life, if you do it the right way, your marriage will grow.
It'll be much stronger. Absolutely. Yeah. It's an opportunity. I remember we did a class on that one time. We talked about how the difficulties that you face in life are really a catalyst for strengthening your relationship. Finding strength in adversity. Yeah.
All right. Love to laugh and play with each other. Laugh and play is vitally important to your marriage because it keeps things light. Life can have some heavy events in it. Mm-hmm. But if y'all learn to laugh and play and still be a little sit around each other, that lightens some of that load that life has a tendency to bring. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of seriousness going on around you that you're involved in, and learning to laugh and play with your spouse the way that both of y'all agree on, it can do a lot for the growth of love in your marriage.
And that's a key point that you'll find if you start to look at your sex life. That's something that keeps your sex life alive as well, because any marriage where the sex fades away is a marriage that needs some attention. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't have, I understand sometimes there's medical issues or whatever, but laughing and playing is important for the emotional bonding, for the support, to kind of diffuse some rough places. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can deal with things a little better if you're able to laugh, and it kind of breaks the ice and you can deal with things better. But also, anytime you study what's good for maintaining a healthy sex life, having laughter and playfulness is an important component. So it's not just, because if you're mad at each other all the time and everything is all so serious, then it interferes with the chemistry between you. Yeah. So you got to be able to make that a priority, to laugh and play together. What's you shaking for?
All right. Good.
The fourth way to keep love alive in your marriage is to serve each other. I don't know what you do with this chair. Get off your chair. Is to serve each other without keeping score. We talked about 1 Corinthians last week, and we talked about some of the characteristics of love from a godly perspective. One of those points was that love does not keep account of wrong. And I call that keeping score. Uh-huh. And so if you're adding up and keeping score of all the times he hurt you, or all the times, where you forgot, I had to remind you every anniversary except for 2. Stop keeping score. That don't come from a place of love. That comes from a place that is not love. So if you want to keep love alive, stop keeping score. Go in with 100% of your energy and effort to serve one another, and you'll get that back from your spouse. But if you only give them 50%, I don't want a spouse that's only gonna give me 50% of what they have. What you doing with your other 50%? Where you putting your other 50%? What else is getting that much time and attention and effort? You give your spouse your best. That's really our fifth point, is to give the best. But as far as serving each other, don't keep score. Don't say, well, I gave you a gift out of the blue the last time. When the last time you gave me a just because?
Yeah. And the thing about the 50-50, your marriage will never be 50-50. It don't matter if you were keeping count. There would not be 50-50. The recommendation is you give 100 and they give 100. You give all of yourself to each other.
Yeah.
To the best of your ability. And that way you know that as long as you're giving your best, you don't have time to figure out what they're giving or what they're putting in.
Right.
So everybody, as long as everybody is giving their 100 and 100%, and you come to this marriage as an individual. So you were an individual before you came. So all of that was individualized in you that can make the marriage good, bring that.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you didn't need to bring, leave that. Bring whatever you can to make that marriage better. Okay? All right.
And the fifth way to keep love alive, these are just some suggestions that we're given. I'm sure there's a lot more. And feel free to add that in the comment. But the fifth suggestion that we would give you for keeping your love alive is to give your best and not just leftovers. And this can happen really outside of gender. I hate to say the husband or the wife because every relationship is different, but it's not uncommon for a person to go in 100% at work and give out of gas at work, and then they get home and they don't have any time or attention to give to matters of the household or to matters of the relationship. And I understand that may happen every now and again, but if that's the norm, that's going to wear down on that marriage. When your partner's not able to show up in a state of mind or with any energy to deal with the relationship, it will weigh down on that marriage and it will cost.
Right.
And the same even with time, with your money, with your attention. Don't always save leftovers for your family. Learn to give your family the best. Learn to plan times when you are at your best for you to handle family business or for you to spend time with the family, playing games together, taking trips together, eating together, eating meals together. Make time, not just say, oh, well, if I have time, I'll do this. That's not going to give you a healthy relationship within your marriage and within your family, even as a parent as well.
And I just want to make a point, when we use examples on here, I like to use myself as an example. I don't use my wife because that could not be a good spot. But, early on in our relationship, I can honestly say bringing home my best after work was not true. Because, we've talked in our church about women use 25,000 words a day, men use 12. So when I was at the job and I was coaching from working all day, then coaching from 3:30 to 7 or 6:30, something like that, I was using a lot of energy and a lot of words to do that. So when I came home, I didn't want to talk, didn't want to interact because I was tired. And I had to learn over the years that you can't spend all of you on something else and not have that for your family when you get here. Because it comes out and it'll come out in your children. They're so naive, like, Daddy, I hadn't seen you this week. And those little sayings are honest, but they're not being mean about it. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
So as the adult person and being a married man, you have got, or a married female who works a demanding job, you got to learn how to reserve some for your family. And whatever best you got, that's what you give to them. People outside of your household, you could give them your leftovers or whatever, but you got to reserve some of the best for your family. And like you said, Trina, at work, you got to be your best at some time. And then the home may suffer some, but that should not be a practice. So,
and even then, if you find that you may be going through a period where work becomes demanding for a season, because it does happen. There's a thing called IEP season that's very real in my life. And it's when towards the springtime when a lot of that paperwork just increases exponentially. And I write a lot of IEPs, so it can be very demanding, and it's important, that I do a good job on those. And so fortunately we work in the same, not just same profession. We have in the past worked a couple times worked in the same building. And with him now being an administrator too, he's very much aware of what those meetings entail and the preparation. And sometimes I'm up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning working on paperwork, and sometimes the meetings are late. Parent can't meet till 3:34, in the evening. And the meeting might go another hour or 2 hours. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen sometimes.
Right.
But a key component for that is being in communication with one another. Letting him know, I got 7 IEP meetings this week.
And I understand that now.
Right, exactly. And so he might say, well, I'll take your day to cook this week. Or let's switch off. You take Sunday and I'll take your Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. So we may end up, or he might say, well, I'll tell Charity to do such and such to make up for the slack or whatever. But we come up with a plan so that the family doesn't get mishandled in the midst of those, longer work hours, And so it's not like if I come home late and then he's saying, oh, well, why didn't you do X, Y, Z? That's not the way we're going to do this. We're not going to do this. That would be insensitive. That's not leading with love. I mean, we have to learn to be respectful to each other, to lead from a place of love and compassion with one another. We have to be able to have some understanding. And the same with him with his job. There's times that, things happen at school, especially if it's a fight at the end of the day. That leaves a lot of phone calls. He has to make his paperwork that has to be submitted, his videos that have to be reviewed. And that stuff is time consuming. So I can't be mad if he coming in the house 8 o'clock when he already texted me at 4:30 saying, we had a fight. I'm going to be here a little late today trying to close out this paperwork and contact these parents and see how things need to happen. Then it's only responsible on my end to make sure that I compensate for where he can't do what he needs to do. It allows me to step up, and that's just part of being a team. I can't be mad and think he out cheating, being unfaithful because his job requires a little more, on a given day or whatever. Yeah, we can't be insecure like that. No. We got to come from a place of love. But it comes from when you pay attention, because if you had those kinds of things happen and you don't communicate with me, then all I know is you're not home. And so then it can become a problem, on a different level. But when we communicate with one another, we're able to work together when the work becomes more demanding. Yeah. So we just wanted to give y'all these practical steps for keeping the love alive. Thank you, Elder Danny, for coming in. We see you say you were late, but we're glad you took the time to join in with us. We do ask y'all to like and share this. Hopefully these tips can help somebody. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit to help strengthen your marriage, and that little bit can go a long way. Yeah.
So those are your closing remarks. All right. With that being said, from the lady and the coach, we love y'all. Good night.